The streets of Amsterdam are ablaze. Thousands have taken to the streets, their voices echoing with anger and frustration over the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. But in the heart of this storm, within the halls of power in Jerusalem, a different narrative is unfolding. One where these very protests, fueled by opposition, might inadvertently be strengthening the hand of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Tonight we delve into 6 ways Netanyahu could be capitalizing on this unrest, transforming international outcry into strategic gains. The first, and perhaps most crucial advantage for Netanyahu, lies in the potential to garner increased international sympathy. There's a historical sensitivity surrounding any expressions of anti-Jewish sentiment, a sensitivity easily inflamed in the emotionally charged atmosphere of these protests. Netanyahu, a seasoned politician, is adept at recognizing and seizing upon such opportunities. He can leverage any perceived anti-Semitism, however subtle or unintentional, to bolster a narrative that Israel is constantly under threat. This allows him to present Israel's actions not as aggression, but as a necessary defense of Jewish safety and sovereignty. The second gain for Netanyahu lies in the realm of public opinion. The highly visible nature of these protests forces a choice upon global leaders. It compels them to take a stance, to align themselves either with the protesters or with Israel. Many leaders, particularly those prioritizing stability, may find it strategically advantageous to side with Israel. This choose-a-side dynamic plays directly into Netanyahu's hands, potentially bolstering his support base on the international stage. The third advantage for Netanyahu is perhaps the most cynical yet undeniably effective distraction. With the world's gaze fixated on the escalating tensions in the Middle East, a crucial opportunity arises for Netanyahu domestically. The media spotlight shifts away from internal issues. Controversial judicial reforms and ongoing corruption investigations lose their urgency in the face of what's portrayed as a far greater existential threat. This manufactured crisis provides Netanyahu with invaluable breathing room, allowing him to consolidate power and silence dissent under the cover of international turmoil. The fourth advantage Netanyahu might glean from the Amsterdam protests is the opportunity to bolster security measures both at home and abroad. As cities across Europe grapple with rising unrest, Netanyahu can point to these events as justification for his government's often heavy-handed security policies. The narrative becomes, look at the chaos unfolding in your own streets. This is what we face every day. This argument resonates particularly well with leaders who prioritize security above all else, creating a dangerous precedent where the suppression of dissent becomes normalized under the guise of maintaining stability. The fifth gain for Netanyahu comes in the form of strengthened alliances. Conservative leaders around the world, particularly those with strong right-wing bases, may find themselves drawn closer to Israel in this time of perceived crisis. The narrative of a nation under siege resonates deeply within these circles. Netanyahu can leverage this shared sense of grievance to solidify his alliances, securing not only rhetorical support, but also potentially tangible benefits. The protests become a rallying cry, uniting disparate right-wing factions under the banner of supporting Israel. The sixth and final advantage for Netanyahu is perhaps the most insidious. As the Netherlands and other nations grapple with the fallout of these protests, there will be calls for stricter measures to control future demonstrations. Netanyahu will be watching closely, ready to seize upon these developments as justification for his own government's often draconian measures to stifle dissent. He can argue that Israel is simply following the lead of other Western nations, that limiting freedom of assembly is a necessary evil in a world grappling with instability and terrorism. In this way, the Amsterdam protests could inadvertently provide a blueprint for further oppression, not only in Israel, but across the globe. As the dust settles on the streets of Amsterdam, one thing remains clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is a survivor. In the face of international condemnation, he has once again demonstrated a remarkable ability to turn adversity to his advantage. The Amsterdam protests have inadvertently provided him with a platform to further his agenda, both domestically and internationally. This is the unsettling reality of global politics. Even opposition can be twisted to serve the interests of those in power. The question is, how long can this last? How long until the world sees through the carefully constructed facade and demands true accountability?